Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are covering Season 4 of Aggresuko. I covered the third season of the show back in October of 2020, and now it's time to cover the next season. So, right from the get-go, the show gives us its main goal. That being, get Haida and Retsuko together. Because we've been waiting 3 seasons for this to happen and it still hasn't. So we've established our main goal straight away. As Retsuko has had to move house for the very first time in the show. And while Haida and Feniko are helping her unpack, they find some very interesting items in the boxes that she brung all her stuff in. Nunchucks being one of those things. Yeah, Retsuko's been doing a bit of training to defend herself. So Haida and Feniko look at each other and are like, yeah, just put those back, pretend we didn't see them. It's not worth asking Retsuko, why does she have these things? So, in order to get the ball rolling for Haida, he suggests to Retsuko, why doesn't he walk her home after work, as it's a new place that she's only just moved into? And, you know, it'll be safer that way than if Retsuko walks home by herself. So to begin with, that's exactly what happens. So you're thinking, alright, Haida's all in there. Haida is in. We've had a good start. All he has to do is when they get there, if Retsuko asks, do you want to come in, just say yes. But unfortunately, Haida's a massive pussy, which is very ironic because he's a dog, not a cat. He's not even a cat, so it doesn't even work. You can't even, the joke doesn't even work because he's the wrong animal. But yeah, he just will not do it. So Feniko and Sonoda may create an emergency love meeting where they're basically trying to counsel Haida into manning up and taking the initiative. They also do the very same thing with Retsuko later on, explaining that Retsuko and Haida are very similar, because neither of them actually want to take the initiative. So while they're trying to sort that out, a big shake-up in the company that they work at happens, as the CEO of the company is just lightly jogging and has a heart attack right in front of Haida, who chose to blow off another night of possibly going to dinner with Retsuko because he was too scared, and Monica from the OTM girls, if you remember them from the third season, happens to be there as well. So Haida lets Retsuko go, well, basically tells Retsuko to go off with Monica as he walks home looking sad and sorry for himself, even though he's the idiot that made reservations at a restaurant that he still has to pay for despite not going. And just uses it to drink his sorrows away with Feniko. Again. But the CEO jogs past Haida and then falls, as if he's had a heart attack. Luckily, Haida was there, called an ambulance and got the CEO into the hospital. So, with the CEO in the hospital, that means there's going to have to be a new CEO at the company. So, the outwards director, Mr. Himaru, becomes the brand new CEO. And he's actually a brand new character that we've never seen before. But he is promoted to the role of CEO. And the accounting department isn't doing too well. The numbers are not looking good. So Mr. Himaru decides to basically make up a brand new department that doesn't actually exist, and he sends Mr. Tone there and promotes Haida to the manager of accounting, which is very interesting. It was quite a big deal for Haida because it's the first time ever his potential and work has been noticed by someone. And the only reason Haida is so in with Mr. Himaru in the first place is because Haida happened to meet Mr. Himaru at the hospital after he went there in the ambulance with the CEO. So Haida gets promoted to manager of the company, and Mr. Tone realizes that he's basically being paid to do nothing and he's not enjoying it. He really ain't enjoying what he's doing. So after a number of days doing nothing, he decides, nah, this isn't it. And he requests his resignation to Mr. Himaru and leaves his job at the company. And he was up, despite he'd almost been working there for 30 years. It was coming up in his 3-decade anniversary. And he's like, nah, this ain't it. And he left. And he ends up working at Domart, the convenience store. What's even funnier is Monica works there, if you remember from the 3rd season. She's the one teaching him, which is pretty funny. Suddenly, Mr. Tone's gone from being the annoying boss that everybody hated to having to learn off other people again. First time in 30 years he's probably had to do that. And Mr. Himaru is not a great CEO because he basically forces accounting to make some cuts. And these cuts involve being very, very... Well, let's see. Not understanding. What's the opposite of understanding? I guess not very understanding. Very unreasonable and not very understanding. As Kabe, who, you know, the one who spreads rumours everywhere, she had to basically quit her job to take care of her son because of how unreasonable the new manager between Mr. Tone and Haida was to her. And one day, Retsuko is shopping at Domart, and she just happens to see Mr. Tone. Then she decides. Then a further day, she looks from a distance, and Mr. Tone's daughters sneak up on her. And somehow they've managed to learn the arts of the nunchuk and manages to take the nunchuk off Retsuko. So Retsuko offers Mr. Tone a proposition. You come and work for me, and we'll find out what the company is actually doing. So Mr. Tone reluctantly agrees to do this. And Retsuko notices that Haida's behaviour at the company is quite a bit different since he got the promotion to manager of accounting. She feels that there's something weird going on. And she would be right. So her, Feniko, Kabe, Mr. Tone, and I, basically everyone starts working together. Retsuko even returns to that YouTube channel she made after when OTM Girls got really, really big in the 3rd season. Which is one of only 2 times 3 times actually. One of only 3 times she actually uses the death metal version of herself. And I think that might be the least she's ever used it. So Haida has this flash drive that keeps some certain documents on it. As Mr. Himaru is basically having Haida do some illegal figure tampering to inflate the profits of the company because they can't do it in a legal way without simply just firing more people. So they go on a whole Mission Impossible styled mission where they've got Feniko looking on the cameras, and I looking around at what Haida's up to, Mr. Tone managing to have a security surveillance over Haida's office, which used to be his office. Well, no, Mr. Tone didn't have an office. That was the thing. Haida even had his own little office built in that department. Something Mr. Tone never had, and he'd been working there for 30 years. The 3rd season, not the 3rd season, the 4th season really makes you come to like Mr. Tone a bit. When he's not the angry asshole of a boss that he has been in the first 3 seasons, when he's got to work together with people, he's actually not a half bad character. So, looking through the passwords in order to get onto Haida's computer, which Retsuko Mission Impossible style, remember from the first movie where Ethan has to go down into that white room on a rope that's been held up by that other guy that nearly drops him? Yeah, Kabe and Retsuko literally recreate that very scene. And the reason why it's so funny is because with Retsuko being a panda, she literally looks like a regular panda instead of a panda pretending that would act like a person. She looks like she's walking on all 4s, which is hilarious. Feniko is throwing out passwords to Retsuko, and one of them is the phrase Retsuko love, but with a zero instead of an O. And somehow it works, which means Haida clearly still has those feelings for Retsuko. He's just too scared to show them. Hell, he even ran into Inui near the end of the season. If you forgot who she was the female dog that he spent a bit of time with in season 3, but then blew off right at the end of the season to go back chasing after Retsuko, and still failing again. Come on, Haida, you've got to step up your game. So Retsuko manages to convince Haida to stop with the illegal figure tampering, and he realizes the error of his ways. He even has a chat with Tadano about it. If you forgot who Tadano is, he was the rich guy that Retsuko dated briefly in the second season, and he appeared again in the third, and he's appeared yet again here in the fourth. He's actually the one that came up with the idea for Retsuko to go on her YouTube channel and make another death metal song. And Mr. Yodo, the manager of OTM Girls, just so happens to be the window cleaner at Retsuko's company, so even he gets in on the act. As Haida walks into Mr. Himaru's office and tells him he don't like what's going on. And they have a freaking arm wrestle. And a rap battle at the same time. Which I wasn't expecting, and I was very pleasantly surprised by it. But neither of them are able to win, so Retsuko comes in, does some like napper break cannon attack out of her mouth, knocks both of them out of the window. You think, oh crap, if we just killed Mr. Himaru and Haida? Nah, Mr. Yoda was way ahead of you. And the thing he stands on when he's, that he moves around when he's cleaning the windows, Haida and Mr. Himaru land on top of that. Mr. Himaru then leaves the company, and the CEO from earlier makes a full recovery and returns to his position as the CEO, reinstating Mr. Tone as the manager of accounting and reinstating Kabe in her position, but Haida chooses to leave the company, which was actually quite a shock twist ending. And the season ends with Haida and Retsuko walking off together. And then it does a little like James Bond thing where, you know how in all the recent James Bond movies, at the end it says James Bond will return? It basically did the very same thing here, but said Retsuko will return. So they're basically confirming straight away that Aggresuko Season 5 is probably going to happen. So that's exciting. But that is the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed the fourth season, giving us more romantic struggles between Retsuko and Haida that they just can't do it, no matter how hard they're trying. A much bigger shake-up in terms of Retsuko's company work life rather than her personal life this time. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, catch you later.